Hey everyone, welcome to the CyberHub Engage podcast. I'm your host, James Azar. So excited about this Friday wrap-up. I have probably one of the funnest Friday wrap-ups we've done in the history of our Friday wrap-ups. I've got Dr. Nigel Smart back with us. Doctor, greetings to thee from the continent of the European nations.
Indeed, and it's greetings from Belgium, and we missed something last time. Because we said, what did Belgium give the world? And Belgium's given everyone all the security that they use. Because we've given them AES and we've given them SHA-3. So all your cryptography you use comes from Belgium. So we are the home of cybersecurity.
That is awesome. So we've got a lot to get into. Look, I've heard a lot of people talk about crypto. I mean, in Canada, I was on a phone yesterday with folks from Canada, and they were like, we're home of BlackBerry. BlackBerry was the home of cryptography. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but that was like 20 years ago. Like, I mean, and they've just stopped making it, yeah? The last people making the handset with the keyboard stopped this week.
Yeah, now they're a cybersecurity company. They're called BlackBerry Cylance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, they've decided to go from hardware to software now into security. I mean, BlackBerry to me was never a hardware company. I always saw them as a software company. When they decided to stick to hardware, I didn't understand that. They could have been bigger than Android.
Yeah, they were bigger than Android at the beginning.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Such a shame, BlackBerry. You can hire us as your consultants for an exuberant amount of money to fix this.
Yeah. Actually, I used to be a consultant for the company that BlackBerry bought to do its crypto. So there we go.
There we go. So you've actually done that.
Yeah.
So
been there, done that, bought the t-shirt.
It's been a really, really crazy week. Obviously, we've had a ton of stuff go on all together. I mean, just one thing after the other. And I really kind of want to start off with this whole election mess, which is, we're in the year of elections. So mind you, I realize that every week I'm going to have to talk about elections. But we took our first crack of the Democrats trying to organize an app for elections. And it wasn't even for people to vote on. It was so that precincts could report. And it was a colossal failure in operations, but it was also a colossal failure from security. 3 different companies that were given access to vulnerability scan the app just indicated all the different failures. I mean, we're talking about our elections. Where does election security kind of rank as a priority in this kind of stuff? I mean, what's your take on this?
There's a lot of work on election security. I mean, there's a lot of Matt Blaze is really has been tweeting a lot about this. There's people in Microsoft and Microsoft have like an initiative. I can't remember what it is, Trustworthy Elections or something. And there's some really, really good experts. There's Ron Rivest from MIT who've been advising. There's Ron Wyden, who's a senator from Portland. They know their shit, right? And there's some real simple rules. Have a paper trail, be able to audit your election post. And actually, in terms of the things that security experts with elections say you should do, Iowa did, right? So Iowa is not a complete disaster compared to some things. It's just this app was rubbish. And they tried to do something. The app seems to have been made with, I don't know, sticky tape and a plaster and, like maybe got some kindergarten kids to do it with some string or whatever, and it goes kind of like tin cans when they kind of connect. This was the kind of level of technology in the app. So that's what failed, but the actual basic election was still secure, was still auditable, still had a paper trail, These are the things that every election expert says you can do. I mean, there's even bigger fails out there in election land. I mean, last year we had, you might not know this because there's other countries outside the United States. And in Switzerland, we had...
wow. I've been to 100 countries, man. Are you kidding me? I've been to 6 continents.
Yeah, but something, we kind of think, there's other people outside. People in the States don't realize there's countries outside. So Switzerland had a real problem with those elections that were found by people examining the code. And if you went through the code, they didn't make stupid cryptographic mistakes. Well, they make elementary cryptographic mistakes. They still had HTTPS, but the actual crypto protocol was completely rubbish in the sense that anyone could fake the election. I mean, this is kind of,
Yeah,
really basic to security.
But the Democratic app in Iowa at the caucuses had no HTTPS at all. So all the data transmitting was on HTTP. Now, you brought up a really good point before we started recording. You went, James, it's not a big deal because the data that they're transmitting is public data. But if I'm able to manipulate that data and no one's double checking the quality of the data coming through the app, then you've essentially compromised the entire.
Which is exactly why all election experts you talk about post-election auditing. And you can, even if the data came through in Iowa, I'm not sure whether they would have done, they could have done a post-election audit. And this is, I mean, so whatever system you have for electronically recorded stuff, you need paper trails.
You mean you want the Democrats to recall their own elections? I mean, in the history of this nation, if anyone recalls elections, it's the Democrats.
No, you don't recall. You do what's called a post-election audit, where you verify statistically that the result you get is what's been reported by looking at the paper trail. And you could do this for every election. You could do, if lo and behold, you could actually do this for the big vote in November, isn't it, or October? When is
November. It's the first Tuesday of November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, so us in Europe, we don't even know the US exists, so we don't even know when your elections are.
Well, let's be real. Everyone in Europe knows the US exists because that's where all the good Europeans go because they want to get away from Europe itself. The Brexit did happen, Nigel. I'd like to remind people that, Britain is now officially not part of Europe. They're, again, their own sovereign nation.
They're in transition, which means that there's some people trying to row them into the middle of the Atlantic. I think that's what it means.
It's
they're trying to they get some tugboats out and pull Britain into the middle of the Atlantic, I think is what they're trying to do.
Well, that's okay. I mean, Trump's been trying to buy Greenland. Let's get him closer to Greenland, then we can take it over together.
Boris could build a bridge.
Boris could build a bridge.
Yeah, he likes bridges, apparently. Yeah, well, there we go.
I mean, you guys are an island. Bridges are a good thing, technically.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you look at I'm really going to hammer the Democrats on this because I think if you're going to go and you're going to launch an app that your precincts are supposed to report from, test it. Because all the problems that they've had with the app indicates that they were like, all right, guys, the app's ready Sunday night. All right, let's use it tomorrow. Open it up for everyone. No one bothered to do some A/B testing.
Only that people have actually did test it beforehand, and they said don't use it. There's been a number of people that said that the app was unstable. Just purely from a functional point of view, it wasn't. If you want to spend $60,000 on an app, you're not really going to get much, and you really should test. Like everything, you should always test.
Yeah, well, as much as I love bashing the Democrats for another colossal failure in their quest to try to sell at least me as an American public their capacity of let the government run everything and everything will be okay. If you can't even launch an app properly, I sure as hell ain't gonna trust you with my healthcare.
True. No, you can kind of say that. I'm not going to comment on American politics.
No, I mean it's. I mean, listen. The frustrating part for me personally out of this whole thing is you guys are the Democratic National Party. You guys were hacked in 2016. You guys know better. You really do know better. So, use this. Plan ahead, execute, and you have at your disposal people within your caucus that will volunteer to help you. There are plenty of cybersecurity folks that are huge advocates for the Democrats that would have loved to go in and help them pro bono as part of their contribution to the Democratic campaign.
Agreed, and it's not as if they hadn't had 4 years to prepare.
Right. They've had 4 years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's kind of embarrassing. I think, yeah.
It's a colossal failure. Kind of looking at that, one of the early stories this week, and something, this week, Nigel, we've been on the road. We did a live podcast here in Dallas, and last night we did a CISO roundtable. And one of the constant things that keeps coming up in our discussions has is and always will be how these criminals are utilizing current events like elections, but more prominently now, this disaster called the coronavirus and the risk that it has on the global population. I mean, 30 or 40 million Chinese people are living under siege, almost like the Simpsons did in the Simpsons movie. You know, they can't go anywhere. You know, they've got a big dome over them, and we're trying to contain that. But attackers and criminals now are using the coronavirus scare to really increase their phishing activity. Where do we start to tackle that?
I mean, but this is all kind of tied up with how do we tackle, you know, normal humans who aren't cybersecurity experts interacting with the internet. I mean, you know, if this is all to do with the fake news agenda, it's to do with do people trust what they see? And you know, phishing works for the same reason fake news works. You know, and it kind of works on you send a lot out. Some people are going to believe this shit. You know, they're going to react to it. They're going to tell their friends, and you're going to kind of get this. You get this effect in fake news where you get this snowballing, but also in the phishing, you're kind of relying on the same kind of psychology that, you know, oh my God, there's the coronavirus, it's going to affect me, you know. But it's kind of weird, is that, you know, everyone's getting wound up about a coronavirus that's killed, I don't know, a few people. Yet at the same time, we have that the internet has made people not take the measles jab, which has killed a few thousands. So it's kind of, it seems the internet sphere is a very weird thing. It panics about getting coronavirus, and yet it doesn't panic about getting measles. It's kind of very, very confusing.
So I think measles is an old disease that technically we deal with, and then it pops up again because some region of the world didn't get their measles vaccinations. And then we go to that part of the world, we drop off all the vaccinations, get people vaccinated, it goes away. The coronavirus, on the other hand, the numbers are staggering. I mean, I'm seeing numbers that are coming out of unauthorized Chinese outlets with, you know, 45, 50,000 dead. They're only reporting 500. I've seen videos where in a hospital morgue, they're showing you bodies stacked on top of each other in bags. I mean, stuff's going on online, and I don't know how much of it is true or not. You know, my concern from a cybersecurity perspective is, as a CISO, you know, we got to pass this message across to our team, because that's one, coronavirus right now is clickbait. Anyone who sees a coronavirus alert, a urgent, you know, health announcement, everyone's going to click on it. They just are. Yeah. And so, you know, it's one of the things I found myself having to do this week is I recorded a 1-minute WhatsApp message and I sent it to all my CISOs on all the different Slack channels I'm on. And I said, hey, distribute this down your SMS pipeline so that it goes everywhere. And it goes, the CDC is never going to email you. The health department is never going to email you. Your insurance provider isn't going to email you with an alert. They're going to post it on social media. And this is where actually social media does good. This is the part where go follow the CDC, go follow HHS.
But if you follow the right link, and if that
follow the blue check mark.
Even if they look, they got to look and be aware that that actually is a link from the CDC. They've got to look that that is actually a genuine link, because, you know, just getting an email and clicking on it is just as bad as getting it in your Facebook feed and clicking on it. You have to, you know. Right. You have to get users to know that what they're, you know, actually kind of like do a sanity check themselves on the link they're clicking on.
No, you're absolutely right. I think that's the challenge that we constantly see with this thing is phishing is enormously challenging. You're talking about human behavior, like you said, and how people interact with things. And when there's an epidemic, bad guys are going to take advantage of it. What would you do internally, maybe at Unbound, or as a, you know, as a professor? What would you do to really get people more aware of this? What would be some of the ways you would communicate this message out?
I think there's some things you can. It's like it's always just training. Okay, you got to keep, and it's not just doing one lot of training. In training, I mean education. You can't just educate your users, your employers, the students in the university or whatever once. You have to keep doing it. And one thing I've seen that was quite interesting is that one organization, I can't remember, this was a few months ago, did a phishing against themselves. So they sent phishing emails that were clearly fake to their own staff to see when the staff clicked on it. And then they knew which staff clicked on it, and they knew which staff were kind of more likely to click on phishing. So one, they can point out to them, you know, was not a genuine thing. It's clearly not a genuine thing. Why did you click on it? And kind of actually target the people and actually just show them. So, you know, if you say, this is what we did, boom, and we show users what they've clicked on that's clearly rubbish. I think that it's a big problem. I think because people just are we've got people used to the fact they just see a link, they click on it. We've got advertisers we've got companies out there creating clickbait to train users to do this. You know, so the whole ecosystem is working against the psychology of humans, I think, to make them do insecure things.
Well, it's going after the human mind of immediate gratification in the world of social media and the world of Google.
Yeah.
And so you see a link, you want to click on it, you want to get your dose, and you want to move on. And that's a challenge. I think that's, you know, that's why verbal communication is so crucial.
I think another way is if we went back to the internet in 1994, it'd be kind of good. You know, just actually make the links go slower. So
Back to the Future 4.
Back to the Future 4, what we do is we make all of the internet go 10 times slower. Then people just go, oh, I can't be asked to click on that link. Because that's what used to happen, yeah?
So you want to stick with the 56K internet connection.
That's how you stop people wanting to click on everything, yeah? Because there's a penalty on clicking. In some sense, I don't know, a link tax might work if you have to pay every time you clicked on something.
A link, maybe a malicious link. No, see, that's so European, just taxing people for behavior. That is so European.
I put that in deliberately.
You did. That's so European. I was like, link? No, why would anyone? You don't want to punish people. What you want to do is hold the people who post those links, the social media companies or the social, you know, or the people who actually post them accountable for the links they post.
I think this is not the problem. The problem is that these companies are creating things where there are legitimate links, but they're training users to click on everything.
Right.
You know, so we have, you know, you basically have media companies putting out stuff which trains users to click on stuff with clickbait. You know, whether this is your New York Times does it, you know, Washington Post does it, USA Today does it, Fox News does it, MSN does it. They all do it, right? This is how media works. They train people to click on stuff, and then someone comes along with a fake thing. It's not these guys, it's someone else, but the users have been trained to click, and that's the problem.
You're absolutely 100% correct, and that's
so you will support the candidates.
I will not support the tax. I will not support the tax. I will support maybe holding companies accountable for the content for malicious links posted on their websites.
But I don't think that's going to make the problem go away.
Yeah, but I feel like it won't. But
I think that's the minimum.
You curb it, right? They start to pay more attention to it. What's this link going? I mean, you know, in today's technology, you know, you put a web crawler and a scanner, and you look at the link and you verify that link, and you know, with machine learning and AI, you can really cross-check that link to see its authenticity. And if it looks malicious, you disable it. And you ask the person who posted the link to justify what this link's all about. I mean, it's doable, right? But it's a cost issue for social media companies. And, you know, like we all know, in a capitalistic economy, if a law doesn't come through, they're not really going to do it.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to spend money doing something because they'd rather spend their money doing something else. Yeah. That's going to generate more revenue. This isn't going to generate more revenue. It's going to generate more work. And so, you know, that becomes a whole piece of it. Staying on kind of a similar topic, but one of the bigger stories, I don't want to say one of the bigger stories, a theme this week has been DDoS. A problem of old, it's rearing right back into it. This, you know, you and I are recording, it's Thursday. This is going to go out tomorrow. This morning we published an exclusive story that we got about how Charming Kitty's still been operating. People thought Charming Kitty was done, but it really wasn't. In the summer of last year, Charming Kitty went on a massive campaign. And so how do we start addressing DDoS? I mean, this problem should be mitigated by now. You know, there's so many companies that exist. There's a way for you to measure a DDoS attack coming your way. I mean, all this buildup, I mean, everything is there. Why is this still happening? It's
kind of interesting. I mean, a few years ago, before the advent of blockchain, there was an idea that you would actually, when you connected to a website, when you engaged in a connection, the client would actually have to solve a cryptographic puzzle first hold on, whoops, I've lost you. Oh, there you go, you're back. So what you'd have is you would connect, if a client wanted to connect to your website, or some port, what you do is you fire back a cryptographic puzzle, a bit like what Bitcoin does for mining. They would have to solve that before, so they would only ever want to connect to you if they really, really, really wanted to connect to you. This was one way of doing it, but I don't think that's ever taken off, because again, it slows down the internet a bit, and but I think there are some technical solutions, but not many.
You know, when you look at this, it's predominantly, you know, a disruption. It's almost it's to me, it's just DDoS attack for cyber to me is like seatbelts in a car.
Yeah.
Right? It's basic safety. You wear your seatbelt. If God forbid you happen to get into a wreck, your chances of survival are greater. Yeah. Same thing with DDoS attacks. I mean, it's I hate to say this, it's extremely frustrating, because I keep seeing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different stories a week around DDoS. And I'm like, come on, like even cloud providers, right? You know, hosting companies, like this should be like your basic service. Like, we protect your site against DDoS. You're going to pay us a small fee. And that's what we're going to do. But that's not the case.
Yeah, I think it's technically it's quite hard. I think this is the problem, without making some major changes to the protocol. I mean, the protocols. I think the problem is with the internet. It was designed when everyone was trustworthy. It was designed when there was only like 4 people connecting in different universities in the US. You know, it's
kind of like similar to the concept of blockchain, though. We remember when the first blockchain came out, they said all you need is a 50% or a 51% consensus to either change something. They wanted to make it very democratic. And then quickly people started realizing, we probably need to do a little bit more trust but verify kind of deals on blockchain. And you're seeing that kind of develop, that trust but verify model in blockchain, because everyone thought, well, blockchain's transparent. Blockchain is the ultimate security aspect, but that hasn't always proven to be true.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, is that with new versions of blockchain, you can add these things in, but with something basic of the internet protocols, this is quite hard without a major re-engineering. You know, and DDoS works because it really does hit right down at the point you connect. You know, so this is actually really something quite fundamental in how the TCP/IP stack works.
Right. Well, I mean, and right now they're doing a DNS move where they're really taking advantage of just really bad DNS management to do this kind of stuff, and that all within itself to me is just, you know, kind of trying to get people to understand that DNS could move into a cryptographic form of management, which would probably be far more secure and reduce DDoS altogether, and it probably wouldn't be as expensive, correct?
Yeah. I mean, there are stuff out there for DNSSEC, keeping the DNS records secure and authenticated. Not quite sure where they got to. There's certainly standards out there. I'm not sure if they're deployed.
That's really, it's crazy. Nigel, I want to say thank you. We're almost out of time.
Wow. It goes so fast.
It does. Well, when it's a fun conversation, it just moves, man. It just moves, shakes, rattles, and rolls. I'm excited to see you at RSA. I can't wait for us to get together at RSA in a few, in
a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Indeed, yeah.
So just remember, San Francisco is not America. It is part of the Democratic Socialist Republic of California.
I know, I love California. It's nice. It feels a bit European, so it's kind of like... It
feels a bit like European.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to remind you, San Francisco is not America. As someone who's a native of San Francisco today is not the San Francisco of the 80s. It's a different city. San Francisco of the 80s, if you want to get San Francisco of the 80s, watch Full House. Dr. Nigel Smart, one of the co-founders of Unbound Technology, one of our proud sponsors. Make sure you go check them out. Now, thanks so much for listening. Enjoy your Friday here. Tomorrow, our cybersecurity State of the Union address with Mark Hoft and Patrick Benoit, where we summarize 2019 State of Cyber. We talked a little bit about 2020. There's a little bit of banter about Zero Trust and so much other stuff on there. So make sure you subscribe now and check that out for tomorrow. Until then, folks, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Shabbat Shalom, and we'll be back on Monday with more for your daily cyber.